If you get a thorough understanding of the thought contained in Part 10, you will have learned that nothing happens without a definite cause. You will be enabled to formulate your plans in accordance with exact knowledge. You will know how to control any situation by bringing adequate causes into play. When you win, as you will know exactly why. Welcome to the Master Key System. This is the complete Q&A version of Charles Haanel's Master Key System. We are talking about Part 10 or Chapter 10 today. Let's jump right into it. Abundance is a natural law of the universe. The evidence of this law is conclusive. Now we see at every hand, everywhere, nature is lavish, wasteful, and extravagant. Knowledge of cause and effect, as shown by the laws governing electricity, chemical affinity, and gravitation, enables man to plan courageously and execute fearlessly. These laws are called natural laws because they govern in the physical world, but all power is not, as we know, physical power. There's also mental power, and of course, there is moral and spiritual power. Spiritual power is superior because it exists on a higher plane. It has enabled man to discover the law by which these wonderful forces of nature could be harnessed and made to do the work of hundreds, if not thousands of men. It has enabled man to discover laws whereby time and space have been annihilated and the law of gravitation to be overcome. Thought is the connecting link between the infinite and the finite, between the universal and the individual. Even so, a thought is dropped into the invisible substance of the universal mind, that substance from which all things are created. And it takes root, the law of growth begins to take effect, and we find that conditions and environment are but the objective form of our thought. The law is that thought is an active, vital form of dynamic energy, which has the power to correlate with its object and bring it out of the invisible substance from which all things are created into the visible or the objective world. You've been following these lectures from chapters 1 up until chapter 10. We've talked extensively about the power of thought, the importance of habitual positive thinking pattern. We've also talked about the process of creation that every inventor, every engineer, every scientist has gone through this same process, and that is the visualization, the idealization of a particular thing, of an achievement in the mental realm first, in the spiritual realm first. Holding that thought, holding that idealization in your consciousness habitually, day after day, defining it, imagining it to its finest detail, and impregnating that thought with the emotion or the feeling of the thought or the desired result fulfilled. As Neville Goddard said, living in the end, to bring that into the physical realm. And Haanel here is again talking about the powerful law of thought and the process by which we are to bring objects from what he calls an invisible realm into the visible realm. Now, this is a law by which and through which all things come into manifestation. It is the master key by which you are admitted into the secret place of the Most High. And get this, you're given dominion over all things. Back in chapters 1 and 2, I laid somewhat of a foundation in those lectures about my fundamental transformation, paradigm shift, perspective change into more spirit, less religion. I was indoctrinated at a very young age into Southern Christianity and know well and have heard well many different biblical scriptures, and this being no different. The one difference is that now with the blending of Haanel's teaching and the scientific piece of it, that I feel like I have a better understanding of what these scriptures actually mean and how it empowers me. Now I'm going to go through this again, and I want you to really think about what Haanel is saying here, and really from the omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent standpoint of who you are, understand what he is saying. And this really is that truth that will set you free. So again, this is the law by which and through which all things come into manifestation. What law? The law of thought. It is that thing that is dynamic energy. It's held in the spiritual. You hold that thought in the spiritual. You hold it in the mental, and then you bring it into the physical. That is how everything is created. So he's saying here, by this law, all things have come into manifestation. And it is the master key. This idea, this methodology is the master key by which you are admitted into the secret place of the Most High. And you are given dominion over all things. Now, understanding the I, understanding that you are part of the whole, the part being the whole, like the whole, similar characteristics and power and ability. You understanding that you are the witness, the consciousness behind the body, behind the mind. You now understand that going through this process, manifestation, master key, which Charles Honnell says, you're given dominion over all things. Why is that the case? Well, it's the case because now I understand my position in this thing. And I understand that I am able to speak things into existence. Me, I, the I. Not whatever your name is, not whatever your title is, but the I that connects you to the universal mind. That I gives you the seat of the dominion over all things and the understanding of manifestation. With an understanding of this law, you may decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. It could not be otherwise. It could not be otherwise. If the soul of the universe as we know it, it is the universal spirit. Then the universe is simply the condition which the universal spirit has made for itself. We are simply individualized spirit, and we are creating the conditions for our growth in exactly the same way. So we're made in the image and the likeness of all there is, and of course, our actions and our power will replicate that which we are made from, the image which we are patterned after. So we also may think a thing into existence. We also may speak a thing into existence. Why? Because the I, the universal, resides within us. It is who we are. And taking advantage of the wonderful possibilities opened up to us through the operation of this law, we must remember that we ourselves contribute nothing to its efficacy. As the great teacher said, it is not I that doeth the works, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. We must take exactly the same position. We can do nothing to assist in the manifestation. We simply comply with the law. And all originating mind will bring about the result. The great error of present day is the idea that man has to originate the intelligence whereby the infinite can proceed to bring about a specific purpose or result. So for me, prior to this understanding, that was my existence. Confronted with a opportunity, or however I'm looking at it these days as opportunity, but in those days it was a problem, an obstacle, some sort of dilemma. Confronted with an opportunity, my initial thoughts were remedy, solution. How do I correct this? Not I from the universal standpoint, me as the individual, the person. How do I get out of this? How do I make this go away? What Honnell is saying here is that is the era of present day. The idea that man has to originate the intelligence, whereby the infinite, we're finite, our bodies will pass away at some point, but the infinite can proceed to bring about a specific purpose or result. Until you're tied into the universal mind, you do not have access to all the resources that there are. So when you are operating in an unconscious state, it doesn't occur to you that a solution will not be derived from the same consciousness that the problem evolved. We must understand that we must raise our consciousness in order to gain access to the solution. And how do we do that? We tie into the universal mind. We accept the understanding that the I within us is the omnipotent, omnipresent, and the omnipotent energy, spirit, source, God, all there is. And we have but to rely on that intelligence and know that the solution will come when needed. Nothing of this kind is necessary. The universal mind can be depended upon to find the ways and means for bringing about a necessary manifestation. So it almost seems our job is relatively easy. Relatively easy. So what is our job? Our job, first, the desire. What is it that we would like? Secondly, the use of our imagination, idealization, visualization. We are contemplating these things daily, drawing mental pictures, blueprints, if you will. And we are habitually seeing them from the end. We've accomplished it. We've arrived. We've gained it. We've lost it. The weight that is. Whatever our desired result is, we see it being completed. And, of course, faith. To believe that what we have desired, what we have brought to birth in the spiritual realm through our imagination, is actually a completed task, a completed achievement. And from the spiritual to the physical, it manifests. So Hanel is saying here, we're not responsible for the how. We're not responsible for the how. We're to rely on the universal intelligence to determine the how. We can determine the what, but not the how. So for me, in my life, that has been, when adequately employed, that has been a very needed respite for my mind and for my body, because I understand that although faith without works is dead, simply occupying myself to feel better also is not a solution. So many times we're busying ourselves with busy work just to feel like we're moving and making progress, but at the end of the day, we've not moved very far at all. Now, it would be exactly the same with you. If you entertain thoughts which are not in accordance with the infinite and cannot therefore be polarized, there's no circuit. You are isolated. The thoughts cling to you. They harass you. They worry you and finally bring about disease and possibly death. The physician may not diagnose the case exactly in this way. He may give it some fancy name, which has been manufactured for various ills, which are the result of wrong thinking. But the cause is the same, nevertheless. Wisdom, strength, courage, and all harmonious conditions are the result of power. We have seen that all power is from within. Likewise, every lack, limitation, or adverse circumstance is the result of weakness. And weakness is simply the absence of power. That's important to understand that darkness is not, there's not a source of darkness. There is absence of light. Hanel is saying here, there's not a source of limitation or lack. There's an absence of abundance. So here, every lack, limitation, or abundant circumstance is a result of weakness, and weakness is simply the absence of power. So where there is weakness, replace it with power. It comes from nowhere. It is nothing. The remedy then is simply to develop power. Develop power. How do you develop power? And this is accomplished in exactly the same manner that all power is developed. How? By exercise. This is why we're doing these exercise after each lecture, every day or every week, depending on how long, the distance you're going between listening to these, is that you're developing your internal I. You're developing that. And listening to these lectures, you're developing your skill set and you're expanding your knowledge base in terms of understanding how do I employ this methodology? How do I exercise my faith? How do I exercise my imagination? How do I increase my understanding and make better decisions the next opportunity? This is why we do what we're doing. This exercise consists in making an application of your knowledge. Knowledge will not apply itself. You must take and make the application. Abundance will not come to you out of the sky. Neither will it drop into your lap, but a conscious realization of the law of attraction and the initiation or the intention to bring it into operation for a certain definite and specific purpose. Remember, we started talking about definite cause. He's talking here a definite and specific purpose. And the will to carry out this purpose will bring about the materialization of your desire by a natural law of transference. Now, let me read that again, because that was really meaty. And I will kind of break it down for you so you understand what this is. So we're talking about the idea that we may be harassed by thoughts that we do not particularly desire. Weakness, anxiety, discouragement, and limitation. Now, we talked in chapter 9 lecture that two things cannot exist in the same place at the same time. That is true in the physical world. You can't have two glasses on the same spot at the table at the same time. And it's true in the spiritual and mental world. You cannot think two thoughts at the same time. So if your mind is being occupied with thoughts of weakness or being harassed with thoughts of anxiety, and you want to replace those or get rid of those thoughts, you must in their place a different thought. And in chapter 9, we talked about a mantra. I am whole. I am perfect. I am strong. I am powerful. I am loving. I am harmonious. I am wealthy. I am happy. Hanel listed out a great mantra for us to repeat in those times where those harassing thoughts would come. And what is the purpose of that? The purpose is to rid your mind of negative thoughts, but also to do it from a place of truth, of light, because your cells will hear it, your body will hear it, your subconscious will hear it and receive it, and you will begin to build yourself up, physically and mentally, build yourself up. So in this case, we're going to replace weakness with power. You have thoughts of weakness, we're going to replace them with thoughts of power. How do we do any of this? It must come through knowledge. The Bible says that we are to study to show ourselves approved. You must seek the information, because once you begin to seek it, it will come to you. Now, knowledge will not apply itself, though. So even after listening to this lecture or any other lecture or reading some similar material, you must be able to apply it and make it into application. Okay? So in this case, we're talking about changing out a negative thought, undesired, to a positive thought, a desired thought. Now I'm going to tell you how. So we will concentrate on the positive thought. That is mental exercise. Every time a negative thought comes into your mind, you replace it with a positive thought. Now, likewise, abundance will not come to you out of the sky. Neither will it drop into your lap, but a conscious realization of the law of attraction and the intention to bring it into operation for a certain and definite purpose. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this definite purpose. I don't want to veer off too much, but Napoleon Hill, this is very important. Napoleon Hill, the great writer and philosopher and New Thought leader in the early 20th century, Napoleon Hill is the author of Outwitting the Devil and Think and Grow Rich. And his fundamental stance, core communication, centered around purpose, definite of aim. Defining your purpose to a tied solution. So that is to say, what is it that I want? Why do I want it? What do I intend to do with it? What do I intend to give for it? Why was he so infatuated and concentrated on definite of purpose? If you read the book Outwitting the Devil, he goes through this conversation with the devil, and the devil explains to him that one of the reasons that people are not productive in their lives is due to a concept called drifting. Drifting. And what is drifting? Well, it is exactly what it sounds like. If a boat was drifting in the ocean, it has no aim, no particular port in mind. It is registering no particular speed because it is really going in no particular direction. It moves at the whim and the want of the waves. This may very well frustrate the boat or even its occupants, but because it is drifting, it literally has no power. Napoleon's Hill definitive purpose and definitive aim has been taken up over the years by many greats, such as Bruce Lee and others who have conceptually understood this point and saw it as a way to construct a path, a direct road from where they are to where they want to be from a written and textual standpoint. So what is a definition of definite purpose? Napoleon Hill emphasizes that the point of your definite major purpose is to develop an unwavering focus on one particular thing. While the end point must stay the same, you may have to tweak your expected path to get there. Think of it like spotting a far-off mountain peak and deciding that you're going to reach the top. Now, when the law becomes fully operative, you will find that things you seek are seeking you. When you put so much time and energy and focus into a particular thing that you desire, you will in turn begin to operate or initiate the law of attraction. You will understand that now the universe is bringing to you those particular things that you actually desire. They're now desiring you. So guys, the exercise for this week is to select a blank space on the wall or any other convenient spot from where you normally sit. Mentally draw a black horizontal line about 6 inches long. Try to see the line as plainly as though it were painted on the wall. Now mentally draw 2 vertical lines connecting with the horizontal lines at either end. Now draw another horizontal line connecting with the 2 vertical lines. Now you have a square. Try to see the square perfectly. When you can do so, draw a circle within the square. Now place a point in the circle. Now draw the point toward you about 10 inches. Now you have a cone on a square base. You will remember that your work was all in black. Change it to white, now to red, now to yellow. If you can do this, you're making excellent progress and you will be enabled to concentrate on a problem you may have in mind. Hanel's exercise this week and even the weeks before is really to challenge you mentally to really be able to use your imagination and visualize, conceptualize these things that he's talking about. Because as you get further into the chapters, we're going to get deeper into specifics about the particulars that may affect your day-to-day life. Visualizing a mate, visualizing building a home, establishing a career or a company, these sorts of things. And if you can take these smaller exercises and really do well with visualizing that, then you're going to do really great when it comes to visualizing the end results for your own lives. Now, to recap for this week, this is chapter 10, and we talked about the definite chief causes, definite chief aim, and definite purpose. What is the connecting link between the infinite and the finite? Thought. Thought is the connecting link. These are some takeaways for this week. Why is that so? Because the universal can manifest only through the individual. Hanel is saying basically, so the universe has created us to experience itself. Perhaps you've heard that. The universal has created us to experience what? To experience itself. The universe is experiencing itself through our eyes, through our senses, through our hands, touch, taste, etc. For what purpose? For whatever the purpose is that it sees fit. Why do so many fail to secure harmonious conditions? They do not understand the law. There's no polarity. They have not formed the circuit. What is the remedy for this? A conscious recognition of the law of attraction. with the intention of bringing it into existence for a definite purpose. I'm going to list out in the notes and description, again, the definition from Napoleon Hill, and even link to a couple of his lectures so that you can really see where this thought originated from. I'm sure Hanel was very familiar with Napoleon Hill. They were in the similar time frames. These works are very, very similar. But this is some really good information. So remember again this week, guys, from an application standpoint, let's define our purposes. Let's define what we believe our outcomes, the desired outcomes, and let's use these techniques and make sure that you go through the exercise. It's really going to benefit you on the way to further exercise and further chapters. So again, thanks for joining this week. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this. It's been my pleasure to be with you. I look forward to you seeing you again. Thanks.